Hello friends and welcome back. I decided to go back on the pitch. I decided to give it another try. Haven't really been dating for a while, and like I briefly mentioned in my last video, after maybe I don't know how long, I decided to go back on Tinder to see had it changed, had things developed, and no, the answer is no. And do you know, I have never actually put anyone on blast. Anyone that I've ever talked to or dated or had a situationship, I've never actually put them on blast and put texts up. But I thought, do you know what? This person was so rude. I'm going to do that. I'm going to break tradition and I'm going to do that. And I know it's a bit trashy and I know it's a bit like, bleh. I was just shocked at this whole scenario because, like I mentioned in my last video, I literally just want to find someone that's nice that I can have sex with, basically, and just show you what it's like for me dating, just as a woman. And this is the type of man that I will come across again and again. Men that aren't healed, men that take their pain out on me. And I thought I would just discuss this journey basically. So I met someone on Tinder and I thought they looked attractive. I liked their bio. It said that they were a writer, so immediately it piqued my interest. I thought, oh, this person's going to be like me. They're going to be pretty similar. They're going to be really driven. They're striving towards their dreams and they're a writer. And I just thought, this is really interesting. And we matched, I waited, and he sent me the first message because I never messaged men on Tinder, first message. And we just started talking and he seemed different from other men. There was one red flag on his profile. He said that he was a masculine man. And when he put that, I did have to admit, I did roll my eyes. I did see that as a red flag. And as you'll see later on, I should have gone with my gut. I have no problem with men reclaiming the word masculinity. And obviously, I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt because I thought men now are really trying to reclaim it. They're trying to reclaim the word masculinity after everything that's gone on online about toxic masculinity. So I thought I'd give him the benefit of the doubt. And he asked my number and we started texting. And the thing that he did first that annoyed me is he would only send voice notes. And it's like that meme in The Materialist, I'm trying to settle. I've got to that age where I am actively trying to settle. I'm actively trying to give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm trying to cooperate with their communication style. And I thought, okay, he just wants to send voice notes. That's absolutely fine. But it was a bit annoying because every time he sent a message, I'd have to plug my earphones in to listen to it. And I did find it a bit annoying, but I let it slide. The third red flag, this is a personal thing. I hate it when men ask for the list. And what I mean by this is that men will ask for a list of attributes. It was like, describe yourself in 3 words and then describe your best 3 body parts. And immediately I cringe when men do that. I hate that. I hate trying to distill myself down into 3 words. And I hate men saying, what are your 3 body parts? It just turned me off. But I tried to think to myself, try and settle. This is a man that's interested in you. You never get men interested in you. So just go along with it. And I think I just made up some crap and said, oh, I'm funny and driven and kind. And then because it was nighttime, I just ignored the body parts because I thought he was trying to be a bit sexual and I ignored it. And then I think eventually I just said, oh, I have nice green eyes and left it at that. And then we came to the date. So at this point, I kind of felt he was doing some things that were a bit annoying, but they weren't red flags enough for me to just say no. I just thought maybe he was trying to get to know me. Maybe he's listened to some crap dating advice that has told him to ask women for their 3 attributes. I don't know. But eventually, how did we get to the date? Oh yeah, I said that I was reading The Alchemist and he seemed to really like that because he said that his book that he was writing was along similar lines and that seemed to really pique his interest. So then he asked me out on a date and he said, let's meet up for a date. When are you free? And I was like, oh my God, it's a man asking me out for a date. And this is a thing I always have because I live in a shit town. men never want to visit me. Men never want to make the effort to come to my town because it is a shit town. And I've always known that if I want to meet someone, I'm going to have to put the legwork in and travel to them, because nobody wants to come to my town and visit me. And I get it, because as soon as I get wings, I'm out of here. So I completely understand. So I came up with the option of meeting in a neutral town halfway. He lived an hour away from me, and I thought, let's just meet in the middle. That is fair. And men hate this. And I'll tell you why men hate this. Men hate meeting in the middle because then there's no chance of them having sex. So I always do it off the bat, because you find out which men are interested in sex. If you have a neutral town in the middle, it cuts the wheat from the chaff. If a man is really interested in you, he will either come to you or he'll meet you in the middle. If men aren't interested in you and they literally just want sex, they won't agree to meet you in the middle, because they can see sex going out the window, because you're not near his house and you're not near your house. So I said, let's meet here. And now's the time I'm going to bring up the receipts. I'm going to bring up the receipts of the exchange which happened. And I even asked my brother am I crazy? Am I being overly sensitive? Because obviously, because I've had such a crap history of dating, I have to sometimes check myself and check that I'm not being overly sensitive to what happens. And then this is what happened. So first of all, he was asking me how tall I was, which is so strange. In all my life, I've never had a man ask me how tall I am. He seemed obsessed with details. He seemed obsessed with how tall I was, what I looked like. I think he just wanted to check out that I wasn't lying about anything, that my body was a certain way. I think, sadly, men like this, they're just preoccupied with working out if you're overweight or not. That's why you get a lot of men that keep asking for pictures. It's because they want to make sure that you're not overweight, basically. And I think he was just obsessed with that. So he asked me how tall I was, and I said, yeah, about 5'2", I think, because I literally haven't measured myself since I was like 12 years old. I have no idea how tall I am. So I was pretty bang on then. Let's meet for a chat next week then, during the day, if I can, but which day? And then at this point, he knows I'm a YouTuber, but he doesn't know my channel, or never mentioned what I did or my name. So he doesn't see my channel. So I just put, the only day I can't do is Wednesday, as that's an upload day, maybe Tuesday, maybe blank halfway each. So I suggested a town halfway, which I thought was reasonable and fair. But then he gets really annoyed and he sends me 2 screenshots. One screenshot of his house to the town I suggested, and then my town to the town I suggested. And immediately he was getting so annoyed about that. He put halfway laughing face, rolling face emoji. If he hadn't put the rolling face emoji, I would have thought he was just making a joke. And at first I thought, oh, he's just making a joke. He's just making a joke. Don't think too much into it. He's just making a joke. So I tried to keep it light. I tried to keep it light and breezy. And I went, lol, it is by train. I don't have a car. He seemed to get really upset that I didn't have a car. And what I find is that if you don't have a car, men get really angry. And they get really angry because they want a female that can drive to their house at any moment's notice and have sex with them. And the fact that I didn't have a car wound him up so much, because he saw sex going out the window and he was thinking, oh, I'm going to have to do all the legwork. She doesn't have a car. So the fact that I don't have a car, despite the fact that I can drive, it really annoyed him. I just don't have a car because where I live, I don't need one. I walk everywhere. So there's like no point in me having a car. But he seemed to get really angry by this, as you will see. Okay, just check your train route, and they all seem to go through blank, it seems, because blank and blank are probably halfway but take longer to get to. So blank is an option that's best, I think, considering you don't have a car. It's also a nice place. So he suggested a place that was even further away from my town, and it would be a 10-minute train journey for him and a 1 hour train journey for me. Bearing in mind I don't drive, and the only way I could meet him was via train. At this point, I just tapped out because he clearly wasn't interested in me. He wasn't thinking about the fact that I would have to travel an hour to meet him and he would have to travel 10 minutes to see me. And I didn't think he was being fair. The town I suggested was the best place for both of us because it was in the middle. And you could say, yeah, one of you has to give a bit. You're not going to get a town that's completely equidistant between both towns. One of us was always going to travel further. And I think for a first date, that should be a man. And that's my boundary, and that's the boundary I'm staying by. And at this point, I didn't want to meet him. He'd shown too many red flags, and I just wanted to stay at home and remain pH balanced. He'd done enough. I wasn't going to meet him. I tried to back out as best as I could without being aggressive. I just put, I'll have a think. Blank is like 10 minutes for you and an hour for me, which was true. It was 10 minutes. It was 10 minutes for him on the train and an hour for me. He was obsessed with driving to this location. He could not get it out of his mind that the only way he could get to this town was driving. He did not want to go on a train, which for me is pretty stupid because I go with efficiency and a train is more efficient than a car, but I suppose everyone's different. Here he goes. Exaggerate much? It's 30 minutes for me and 50 minutes for you, and there's no better option considering you don't drive. I've checked. I also drive a lot during the day for work. Bearing in mind this man has told me he's a full-time writer, he's gone in the space of a text from Jack Kerouac to an Amazon delivery driver, and I just didn't know what to do. Then he put, you also just sit on the train. I have to concentrate, remember? I didn't like that text. I get what he's saying, that when you drive you have to concentrate, but I didn't like the way he worded it. The fact that I was just sitting on a train, I was thinking, bro, I'm traveling an hour to visit you and at some point potentially have sex. I'm letting you nowhere near my body because you are just sending out so many red flags, and he was just winding me up so much. I felt that text about the train was just so rude. I knew it was a no. This text that I sent, it irritated him so much, and I was just sending it from a place of confusion. I thought you were a writer. I'm confused. I was generally so confused. He told me he was a full-time writer and he was working on his novel. I assumed that he made all his money from writing. He put that in his profile, that he was a writer. He never mentioned that he had a second job. He basically lied on his profile. If he'd have been honest and said that he was a delivery driver but was writing a novel, I would have more respect for him. It's the fact that he lied about it and then he gaslit me and made me out to be the bad person for not liking the outcome of what he said. So that's why I said, I thought you were a writer, I'm confused. Here we go, here comes Burger. Having a dig at my writing when it's clear if you read it properly, nice. I think he got confused here. I think he thought I was having a dig at his text, but I was just generally confused. I was confused because he pretended to be a writer, but he's not. He was like an Amazon delivery driver. He was lying. And because he got caught out in the lie, he turned that on me. He turned his aggression on me. After that, I was not going to entertain him anymore. That was it. I'm not meeting with this man. I'm not traveling an hour to meet this angry and aggressive man that doesn't even know me, but he seems to be a wounded masculine. He seems to be really hurt over something. And I've done nothing wrong. All I've done is just express confusion because I thought he was a writer, but he was obviously a delivery driver and he was trying to hide it. He was trying to hide who he really was. So I just put, okay, I'm getting a bad vibe from you. Was not having a dig. Just assumed you're a full-time writer. So good luck with everything. I shouldn't have put this, but I did. I feel you just want to use me to blow up a YouTube channel. Because he mentioned at the start that he wanted to do a philosophy channel. And I was like, okay, that's fair enough. In my mind, I just cringe when I chat to men and they say they want to start a YouTube channel. Nothing turns me off faster than a man I'm dating that says they want to do a YouTube channel. Because I can take one look at someone's personality and I can know if they're going to make it or not. You just know. You look at someone and you know if they're going to make it or not. And he was, even before, he was asking me really, I think, inappropriate questions. How much money I made from YouTube, etc. And then he wanted me to show him how it works, the back end of YouTube. And no, that is really inappropriate to ask a woman how much money she makes. I wouldn't go on a date and ask a man how much money he makes. But for some reason, when you do YouTube, people always want to know how much money you make. And even then, I was like, no, I'm not build-a-bearing a man. I'm not building-a-bearing a man up from scratch. This man just wants to use me to give him all the like YouTube secrets. And I was like, no. So in hindsight, I probably should have just not put that, but it leaked out. Sometimes your feelings leak out. And I just said, I feel you just want to use me to blow up a YouTube channel. And that was it. Basically, I had rejected the man and I told him that I didn't want to go out on a date with him. So I was the person that rejected him. This is what men do. When you reject men, they can't handle it. So he made it clear that he had to be the one to reject me to get back some male pride because he couldn't handle the fact that I rejected him. I admit this is my part. I could have worded that better. I could have rejected him in a better way. That's the part I accept on my part. And this was his final shot to me, his parting shot. This man wanted to start a philosophy channel and he wanted to impart philosophy and modern wisdom on men. This was his parting shot to me. So, saying, thought you were a writer, I'm confused, is not rude and having a dig. What planet are you on? You're repeatedly rude and completely disinterested, with not even one foot in the door. So why would I bother meeting you? And you tell me I have bad vibes? What a joke. Laughing emoji. Suits you to be alone doing YouTube videos all day, as clearly you're very misanthropic. I feel truly sorry for the people who get advice from you, therefore. He's a writer, but he just stopped mid-sentence at therefore. I'm not trying to be petty, but then he starts a sentence with and, so here we go. And good luck finding a partner. You'll never find one if you don't change your attitude. I can get much better advice from other places, so I'm okay re-YouTube. Winky face. Bye. So that was his parting shot. His parting shot was to jab at me, say that he pities the people that I advise, and that was him being the burger to carry. That was him jealous of me having a YouTube channel and the fact that he didn't have one. He turned that pain and he threw that pain back on me. But at this point, I just thought to myself, thank God. I could have been a golden retriever. I could have been a golden retriever. I could have gone to meet him. We could have started a relationship and this would have come out. This would have come out eventually, who he was as a person. But I nipped it in the bud and straight away I could read him. And people say, oh, you shouldn't be given advice or whatever, but I just don't care because I know that I'm right. I avoided a golden retriever situation. I avoided me going away out, all the way out there, starting something with him. This would have always come out. This is who he was as a person. He was mean and rude. And he would have continually had jabs at me. He would have continually had jabs at me for being more successful than him, for having a YouTube. And he would have continually done that. And also, you have to bear in mind, I'm filming this in May now, where it's relatively warm and we have daylight till 10 at night. If it's cold and grey and dark, he would not have come to see me. He would have not have continually put the legwork in to come and see me and drive over to see me. He just wanted someone to keep coming over to him. And this man was looking for a golden retriever. We were never going to be a match because I would never have just pandered to what he wanted just to have a relationship. And how did it end, you want to know? It wasn't nice talking to him, but I wanted to be the better person. But if you look on the text, it's only got one tick, so it never went through. He blocked me straight away, and then when I went on Tinder, I saw him unmatch me. So straight away, he just blocked me on all communication. And I thought, thank God for that. Thank God for that I didn't waste any time. Thank God I didn't spend time getting ready and going on a date with this man, because he showed his true colours. He showed who he really was. And I generally pray that I never find a love like that again. I do not want a so-called masculine man in my life like that. What he did was far from masculine. If a woman rejects you, you take it like a man and say, okay, no problem, nice talking to you. That is how a man should receive rejection from a woman. You don't just write a long paragraph diatribe about me, slagging off my YouTube channel, saying that I'll never find love, saying that I'm going to be alone because I didn't want to go out on a date with you. That is just a wounded masculine projecting his hurt onto a female. This is why I don't date down. This is why I don't date down. Every time I try and date down, the men have a jab at me. They have a jab at my YouTube. They have a jab at me as a person. And this is why I never build a man up and I never date down. I'd rather die alone. I would rather die alone than date down and have to encounter men like this. Men that continually jab at me and don't like to see me in my power. On my path, I continually meet men that do not like to see that I'm a powerful person. They always want to push me down. I was so in shock by this situation because I genuinely thought something was going to happen with this man. We had, on paper, so many things clicked. He was intelligent. He was an intelligent man, obviously well read, and he was a writer, but he just had such a bad attitude problem that we could never get past that. There was something he needed to heal within him where he just hated that part of the feminine, which is so scary. I don't know if he'd been advised by the manosphere, and he kept trying to project. I remember he said that one of his qualities was a leader. He seemed to be continually projecting this masculinity. He wanted to be seen as a masculine man. And when you are a masculine man, you don't need to keep projecting that. You just are. Masculine men don't need to keep voicing that they're masculine. They just are by existing. And they help women, they help the tribe, they protect the tribe. This man was far from masculine, and I just think, oh my God, this man is going to get a camera and he is going to be preaching stuff online to people when he treated me like this. He treated me like this just because I rejected him and I listened to my gut and I didn't want to go out on a date with him. He threw this all back at me and it's just crazy. That is my last Tinder ever. I'm never going on Tinder again because I emasculate every man I meet on Tinder. Now, if someone wants me, they're going to have to come to me. I'm not doing Tinder anymore. And I know I say this like each year and I go back, but this experience, it didn't hurt me, but it really put the nail in the coffin. I've never met anyone as rude to me as this man. He was just so rude. It's 2026 and they're still trying to burn us at the stake, unfortunately. Things have not changed. Thanks for watching. See you later.